In the grip of Storm Gerretti, Britain hit by a weather bomb with wind speeds of 99 miles per hour. There have been violent gusts in the Isle of Scilly and Cornwall after a rare danger-to-life red warning is issued by the Met Office. More than 50,000 are without power.
Not only is it likely that damage will be caused to buildings, homes, and that there'll be flying debris, but it also means a significant threat to life.
In Wales and the Midlands, heavy snow is falling with transport disrupted and dozens of schools to close tomorrow. The Met Office has described the storm as a multi-hazard event with warnings of snow, ice and rain across the country. We'll get the latest from the worst-hit areas. Also on News at 10 tonight. Divisions deepen over a federal agent's fatal shooting of a Minneapolis woman as J.D. Vance implies she brought it on herself.
I can believe that her death is a tragedy while also recognizing that it's a tragedy of her own making.
U-turns on tap, pubs welcome a government climb down on their business rates. As President Trump tries to work out how to get Greenland, James is there to hear what its people think.
What do you think about Mr. Trump?
He's crazy.
Are you worried?
Yeah.
The last rites administered by Australia.
And done over, down under. Now the inquest begins into England's dismal ashes.
This is ITV News at 10 with Julie Etchingham.
Good evening. Sometimes the build-up to a big storm can oversell its impact. Right now, though, Storm Gerretti is living up to its billing with a double dose of wintry weather battering Britain. 99-mile-per-hour winds in the southwest, heavy snow, a foot of it further up the country. The Met Office warned lives could be in danger. Already, more than 50,000 people have been left without electricity. Well, the worst of the storms are expected over the next few hours. Red weather wind warnings, which mean a risk to life, have been issued for Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly, where record winds of 99 miles per hour have already been recorded. Red warnings have also been issued for the Channel Islands, people there being warned to stay inside. There are amber snow warnings for much of Wales and the Midlands, and yellow rain and snow alerts have been issued for much of the rest of the country. The Met Office has called it a multi-hazard event. You can say that again. Well, tonight, Sangeeta is in St Ives on the rain-lashed Cornish coast. Rhys is in wintry South Wales, and Stacey is in the city snow of Wolverhampton. First, Sangeeta's report on how Gerretti roared across the West Country.
As the eye of the storm moved across the channel, strong winds hit the Isles of Scilly at almost 100 miles an hour within minutes of the red alert being enforced. All schools here were closed today as the south coast bore the brunt of the Atlantic air.
You've got to be fairly resilient if you live out on a rock in the Atlantic. So we're quite used to bad weather here, but this storm is probably one of the worst we've had for the last couple of years.
All airports were closed across the Channel Islands, and emergency services told residents to stay indoors as a major incident was declared. Some took advantage of the strong winds earlier today along the south coast, but with relentless gales and rainfall, all trains from Cornwall up to Devon were suspended. And later, the winds became more violent, whipped up as the storm developed.
Well, 40-mile-an-hour winds are forecast across here in St Ives, but it already feels a lot stronger than that. 100-mile-an-hour winds are expected across the rest of Cornwall throughout the night, of course, with that red alert in place until 11 o'clock. Now, the concern the Met Office is worried about is that those strong winds will meet high tide and cause coastal flooding, and they're expecting waves across the channel to reach as high as 6 or 7 metres.
Tonight, thousands across the southwest are without power. Roads are already blocked by fallen trees, with the worst of the storm still yet to come.
And Sangeeta, it's a pretty frightening scene there tonight. What is the latest?
Yeah, we've moved away to a safer location. We've been here all day, and at about 6 o'clock, the wind here really picked up. Before then, there was barely a breeze, a bit of rain, but this wind has been relentless for the last 4 hours. We've seen tiles falling off roofs, trees blocking roads, bins sliding across the streets, and actually earlier today, myself and my cameraman thought we saw a bolt of lightning, but what we actually think we saw was a power line being damaged. Tonight, around 47,000 homes across the southwest are without power. Of course, that red alert still in place until 11 o'clock. Many people here just waiting for the time and the storm now to pass.
OK, Sangeeta, thank you very much indeed for that. Well, preparations for the arrival of Storm Gerretti are being put to the test in Wales and the Midlands right now. Up to 30 centimetres of snow, 12 inches, has been forecast and is falling fast. Flights from Birmingham Airport have been suspended and the race is on to keep the roads clear for the morning commute. Some trains have been taken out of service to make sure they don't get stuck.
Storm Gerretti arrived in the Midlands earlier than we expected. The heavy snow covered roads in less than an hour before the amber warning had even started, making it tricky for those trying to get home. The locals are trying to keep each other moving.
It was raining earlier, so I literally said to one of my pals, I don't think it'll stick. An hour later, here we are.
And this family are covered in snow, but hoping the trains are still running.
At the moment, we haven't got a plan B yet, but should anything happen, we'll probably get a taxi back.
It's really, really thick. I've been walking and it's like cold.
They'd been preparing for the worst snow in a decade here. Outreach workers in Wolverhampton have been desperately trying all day to get people into temporary accommodation. But Martin said he wouldn't leave his dog, who's called Storm, and so his plan was to stay on the streets.
What are you going to do tonight? There could be 10 centimetres of snow. Is there really nowhere you can go?
No, I'm going nowhere without her. You know, she's like my baby, so I'm going nowhere without her.
Hello there, sir. Nice to meet you again.
Doctors at one hospital in the Midlands say they're already seeing more patients suffering with frostbite, like Dutch, who's been sleeping rough in Birmingham and now faces life-changing surgery.
99% sure I'm going to take the feet off. After that, I have no idea. It's very worrying, but yeah.
There's now a blanket of snow covering the runway at Birmingham Airport, where flights have been suspended. And many rail services stopped early in preparation for a night of severe weather.
We will reduce the train service, and that just means that if we do get any problems on the network, there are a few trains in queues waiting to get through, and we can prioritise the safety of our passengers and the safety of railway staff.
It's hard to see whether or not things will get any worse. National Grid says almost 5,500 homes in the West Midlands are without power, and the amber alert for more heavy snow in this part of England remains in place until 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Stacey Foster, News at 10, Wolverhampton.
Well, we'll get the latest from Stacey in just a moment, but first let's cross to Rhys, who's near Brecon tonight, for the latest on the situation there, Rhys.
Well, yes, with an amber weather warning for snow covering almost the entirety of inland Wales, it's not a surprise to see lots of disruption this evening. Already there are more than 1,000 homes without power in Pembrokeshire, which has unexpectedly suffered the worst of the snowfall, it seems, this evening. Also, cars stranded, it seems, in Crickhowell, in south-east Wales, as well as lots of trains cancelled, and a rare avalanche warning in Eryri National Park in northwest Wales due to a large amount of fresh snow falling over the last few days. We've been suffering from heavy rain all day here in Wales, and very suddenly tea time that turned to heavy snow, particularly in the South Wales valleys. The high points there like Merthyr Tydfil and Ebbw Vale, it made incredibly difficult driving conditions with reports of collisions. And those difficult conditions continue this evening. I'm stood here on the main road between Merthyr and Brecon. There's been a snowplough and a gritter travelling past on a regular basis, but the weather really is so unpredictable. 1 minute it's snowing heavily, then it's raining, and there's strong winds to contend with as well. And the concern is, as the temperature drops overnight, that the ground could freeze. Now, lots of schools are already saying they're closing tomorrow, and with some students due to take GCSE exams, they may need to be postponed, but we might not know the full impact of this until tomorrow morning.
Indeed. OK, Reese, thank you very much indeed for that. Let's cross then to Stacey. And Stacey, we saw some of the disruption to transport in your report earlier. It's clearly snowing pretty heavily now. What is the message to those planning to make a journey in the morning?
Well, I think is your journey absolutely necessary, and if not, stay at home, because it has been snowing here for well over 3 hours now, solidly. It shows no signs of stopping anytime soon. This weather is forecast right the way through until early tomorrow morning. And actually at the moment there are relatively few vehicles and people out and about. So the real concern is about tomorrow morning when people get up to go to school and to go to work. We know that Birmingham Airport has suspended flights temporarily. Work is taking place now to clear the runway to get flights moving again, but the weather is not stopping. The advice to airline passengers is to check with your airline before you head to the airport to check the status of your flight. There were many thoughts that this might be a record-breaking storm for the Midlands, perhaps the worst in terms of snowfall since that storm of 1987. And I think all the indications are that the disruption isn't over and it may well be a record-breaking storm here.
OK, Stacey, thank you very much indeed for that. A difficult night ahead indeed, and you can track Storm Gerretti and see the impact where you are throughout the night and into the morning on our website itv.com/news. To Iran now, where there has been the biggest day of protests yet in the current campaign against economic hardship. There were also ominous reports of the shutting down of the internet. That can be a sign a major crackdown by the regime is imminent. Emma's here to talk us through basically what you know, Emma. It's a sort of sinister moment when you suddenly hear of this, because if we know that the regime has form on it.
Yes, I mean, these are very, very significant protests in scale now. They're probably around the level of the 2009 protests, and they were the largest that was seen since. And I think what we've noted in terms of the footage that you can see from Tehran this evening is the scale, the number of people out on the streets, the number of fires that are burning. There have been reports of shots being fired. They're unconfirmed at this point, and it's not clear whether they were fired by protesters or by law enforcement, or potentially by both. Now, in terms of the sense of how significant they are in terms of the bigger picture with regard to Iran and its long-term governance, this is obviously a very significant moment. But the one big issue that the Iranian protesters have is that they don't have a unified leader. They came out onto the streets today in part as a result of a call by the son of the late Shah to go onto the streets. But the actual unity is not there. Now, what will be interesting to see over the coming days is whether or not Donald Trump sticks to his word, because, of course, there have been deaths now. He has said he would intervene if there were, and what the effect of that will be, or whether or not these protesters can continue their efforts into the coming days with more significant effect.
OK, Emma, thank you very much indeed for that. Thank you. Now, another entry is about to be chalked up on the list of government U-turns since Labour came to power 18 months ago. The change in business rates for pubs is to be watered down. A rebellion had been brewing in the licensing trade and other hospitality venues since Rachel Reeves' budget in November. She announced an end then to COVID-era discounts on rates. No wonder some pubs have been banning Labour MPs.
The new year is always a challenging time for pubs. But a looming hike in business rates has left many landlords fearing closure. The Treasury now says the proposed changes will be watered down, but not everyone is ready to raise a glass.
I lie awake at night worrying about it. I worry about how I'm going to pay my staff. We actually don't know what our rates bill is going to be because we haven't had the letter from the council. All we know is that our rates has gone up by 55% and the amount payable has gone up by 123%. And maybe that will come down. But without confirmation of actually what we have to pay, you can't plan for anything.
In November's budget, the Chancellor announced an end to COVID-era discounts and changes to business rates in England, leaving many hospitality venues with higher costs. More than £4 billion was set aside to support the sector. But after thousands of pubs said they'd have to shut, the government has backed down and will offer more support.
We're working with the sector to look at the implications of a range of policies and looking at planning and licensing. I want to support our pubs, I want to support our high streets. That's why we've made the change to the rates, but I recognise that many pubs are still struggling and we're working with them.
It's not yet clear exactly what help is on the way for pubs, but there will be a financial cost to the Chancellor and a political cost too. This U-turn follows similar climb-downs on farmers' inheritance tax and cuts to welfare and winter fuel payments, and comes after a high-profile Christmas campaign by hundreds of pubs.
What's happened is that over Christmas, Labour MPs were banned from every single pub they tried to get into. They've come back and realised that nobody likes them, so now they're pushing for a U-turn. We told them this when Rachel Reeves put out that budget. I told her on that day that she was not doing right by pubs.
With more help on the way for pubs, other hospitality venues say they too need extra support.
Today's announcement seems like it only affects pubs. It's good news for pubs, but it's incredibly important to recognise that this is an issue which affects the whole of the hospitality sector. And we do need a solution for everybody, not just for some people. And today's announcement looks like it doesn't go far enough.
More details are expected in the coming days as the government cleans up following another budget backlash. Harry Horton, News at 10.
Donald Trump's Vice President J.D. Vance has done nothing to calm things over yesterday's fatal shooting of a woman in Minneapolis by an immigration officer. Quite the opposite. He called her death a tragedy of her own making when what he called the lunatic fringe confronted law enforcement officers. Protests that began last night after the shooting are still going on this evening.
At the scene where Renee Good lost her life at the hands of an immigration agent, shock lingers with the flowers and candles that have been left in the snow.
I think this is a turning point. I think this is a huge turning point that people see on film an unarmed legal observer being shot for trying to drive away and escape from people who said leave.
It's like this, brutality is brutality. I don't care what color you are, what sex you are, what age you are, brutality is brutality. And I just can't stand to see someone brutalized unfairly, gone, and no one is apparently going to suffer any consequences.
37-year-old US citizen Renee, described by her family as compassionate and forgiving, was a mother of 3 and devout Christian. Today, the White House doubled down on its determination to paint her as a violent attacker.
I can believe that her death is a tragedy while also recognizing that it's a tragedy of her own making and a tragedy of the far left who has marshaled an entire movement, a lunatic fringe, against our law enforcement officers.
Our analysis of multiple videos by witnesses of her shooting suggests a different story. Here we see Renee Good's maroon SUV stopped and an agent walking to the front of the car as he's filming on his phone. From a different angle, agents from another car are heard shouting for the driver to get out. One of them grabs at the door handle and reaches inside. The SUV reverses and turns, attempting to leave. At this instant, the agent in front of the car is seen grabbing his gun. A moment later, the driver appears to be turning her tyres to avoid him. He then fires a shot from close range, continuing to shoot as the car drives past and crashes. The agent who apparently fired the shots has been named tonight as Jonathan Ross. He's then seen calmly walking away, asking his colleagues to ring 911.
Can I go check a pulse? No.
In this footage, a man who says he's a doctor is prevented from going to her aid.
I get it. Just give us a second.
This shocked resident told us what she saw.
And there was a neighbor who said he was a physician, and he was asking to go to the car, and he was asking to take a pulse and provide first aid, and the ICE agents wouldn't let him near the car.
And so she was given no first aid at that point?
Yeah, I didn't actually even know she was there at first. It's something you don't expect to happen in your neighborhood ever, and you hope something like this never happens. Yeah, it was horrible.
Inside,
The shooting that took place in this city comes amidst a backdrop of increasing unease about the tactics and impunity being used by immigration agents out here in force today, facing demonstrators calling for the arrest of the shooter of Renee Good. This evening, as a family and community grieves its loss, in Trump's America, even a situation as tragic as this is being used to divide.
And Romilly is still at the scene for us this evening. Hello to you, Romilly. We're all wondering where this goes next, with such entrenched positions taken on this killing, only reinforced by the Vice President himself. I think we may not have lost contact with Romilly there. I'm not sure whether we can just see whether we can reconnect with Romilly. OK, unfortunately, we were not able to speak to Romilly this evening. Well, there's a second name check tonight for America's Vice President, who we heard earlier, as we were just saying, on the shooting in Minnesota. He was also talking earlier about Greenland and warning European leaders that they must take President Trump seriously on wanting to take over the territory. But what do Greenlanders themselves think? They've been telling us they don't like the idea of becoming American one little bit.
It is a vast and empty expanse of snow, ice, mountains, frozen fjords. Is NATO and almost a century of transatlantic friendship really at risk because of this? In Greenland's tiny capital, Nuuk, home to fewer people than Workington or Newquay, they can hardly believe it, and yet day after day, the drumbeats keep coming from Washington.
There's been a lot of bellyaching from Europe, and Europe has failed to contend with the fundamental argument the president and the entire administration has made. We're going to make sure we defend America's interests, and I think the president's willing to go as far as he has to make sure he does that.
The people he never mentions, though, are ordinary Greenlanders, men and women he'd absorb into the US, whether they like it or not. And both opinion polls and our own less scientific survey suggest they don't like the idea at all.
What do you think about Mr. Trump?
He's crazy.
Are you worried?
Yeah.
You are?
Yeah.
Do you want to be part of America?
No.
You prefer Denmark?
Yeah.
Are you worried?
I don't know. Yeah, I am.
If you had to choose Denmark, America, or independent, which would you choose?
Denmark is okay still.
You don't want America?
No, thank you.
Greenland's business leaders point to an economy on the up with mining of valuable minerals.
We've got the project of molybdenum over here.
Even of rare earths being actively explored, though not yet by American companies. And that, they say, is where Trump would be extremely welcome.
You can get whatever you want in Greenland. You can have American investments in Greenland. You can get access to the underground. You can get access to many, many different things. So for us, it seems unnecessary.
So if what they really want is your mineral wealth, they can get it anyway?
They could get it anyway, yeah. We'd even welcome them.
For all the talk of buying this island from Denmark, let alone taking it by force, there are people here with views and rights. The idea of being taken by or sold to a different colonial power, that is a very firm no. James Mace, News at 10, Nuuk, Greenland.
Well, we can return now, actually, to Romilly in Minneapolis to pick up with that thought about what goes on next, Romilly, with such entrenched positions taking on the killing that you were reporting on a few moments ago.
Well, Julie, they're literally building barricades, if you can see behind me here, lighting fires and digging in. There is a determination amongst those I've spoken to keep these protests peaceful. But tonight, the governor of Minnesota has ordered in the National Guard to support local police as protests threaten to flare up again. There is real anger and despair here that 5 years after the death of George Floyd, just a mile from here, that the city is mourning another unnecessary death. And this time, with those in power apparently determined to prejudge the outcome of any investigation. And on that investigation, the local state level investigation has already been abandoned. There will be an investigation led by the FBI, but there's very little faith here that that will get to the truth. OK, Romilly, thank you very much indeed for that. Thank you.
Now, during the glory years of Leeds United and as both a player and manager for Wales, Terry Yorath was one of the biggest and most popular figures in football. Now, sadly, he has died at the age of 75. He was also the father of BBC Sports presenter Gabby Logan. She had to leave the Match of the Day studio last night during the programme. Gabby and her brother and sisters said of their father in a statement, "To most, he was a football hero. To us, he was Dad, a quiet, kind and gentle man."
What a lovely flick by Yorath.
Terry Yorath made 198 appearances for Leeds United during the club's golden age in the 60s and 70s. A Welshman by birth, he represented his country on the international stage for more than a decade, becoming captain, then manager, and leading his team to the brink of the 1994 World Cup, only to lose to Romania in the last qualifier after missing a penalty.
I need to talk to a man who understands me. Dad, are you there?
His daughter, presenter Gabby Logan, had to leave Match of the Day early last night.
Sadly, Gabby has got a family emergency.
Today, in a joint statement with her siblings, she said, "To most, he was a revered footballing hero, but to us, he was Dad, a quiet, kind and gentle man. Our hearts are broken, but we take comfort knowing that he'll be reunited with our brother Daniel." In 1992, 15-year-old Daniel Yorath looked set to follow in his father's footsteps when he died suddenly from an undetected heart condition while playing football with his dad.
He collapsed. I thought he was taking the mickey. I thought, you know, come on, Dan, get up. And when I got to him, there was nothing there. You know, he was dead.
He's gone through a lot of heartache as well, obviously losing his son at 15. I knew he wasn't well at the time, so obviously I was watching Match of the Day last night and Gabby disappeared off the screen, and I knew then, I think.
Terry Yorath's was a life touched by tragedy.
Now these are extraordinary scenes at Valley Parade.
In 1982, he was player-coach of Bradford City when a fire killed 56 people. He helped fans escape, saving lives amid the chaos. He'll be remembered for more than the goals he scored, for the man he was off the pitch.
Terry Yorath, who has died at the age of 75. And finally, after the heat and dust of Sydney Cricket Ground, some cold, hard reflections on what went wrong for England in the Ashes. It was supposed to be different this time. 7 weeks ago, when the series began, hopes were, if not high, then at least higher than for a while for an England win. In the early hours of this morning, though, the scale of the defeat was sealed. 4-1 to the Aussies. Cricket bosses say they have already begun looking at how England can rise from the Ashes.
A series defeat was inevitable, but this was a humiliating outcome. There is much to learn from an approach that verged on arrogance.
Teams are, I think, coming up with plans that is actually, you know, standing up to a certain style of cricket that we want to play, and we've just not been able to be anywhere or deliver the quality of cricket that's required to win Test matches, in particular out here in Australia.
3-1 down, England went into the final test hoping to save face. The only silver lining, they unearthed a star of the future, Jacob Bethell.
Bethell, brilliant!
This was not even a vintage Australian team, but England and their misguided all-out attack approach came up well short.
The last rites administered by Australia. They win the test.
England cricket bosses have already launched a review, including into the behaviour of the squad. It emerged today that vice-captain Harry Brook was involved in an incident with a nightclub bouncer just before the series. He's apologised, admitting it brought embarrassment to him and his team. And mid-tour, footage appeared on social media showing England opener Ben Duckett all alone and worse for wear.
Well, it's probably for the best, bro. We're losing 2-0.
England cricket boss Richard Gould has said, "We will take many lessons from this tour. The review will cover tour planning and preparation, individual performance and behaviours, and our ability to adapt and respond effectively."
The England fans, who are the best in the world, there's absolutely no doubt.
For England and their supporters, who spent thousands to be there, misery and a very long flight home to reflect on how it all went so wrong. Amy Lewis, News at 10.
The longest of flights indeed. That is News at 10 this Thursday evening. The weather is coming up next. Hope you can stay safe and warm. We'll see you again tomorrow from all of us here. Good night.